Let me show you how a typical misconfiguration or vulnerability could be exploited. Remember, I said that a vulnerability is a weakness, a flaw that is found on an application, a system, a network, or a server that threat actors could exploit. 90 something percent of the time, or most of the time, each time you hear that there is a cyber attack, it is because a vulnerability was exploited by threat actors. It means that threat actors saw a vulnerability that was exploitable, then they were able to write malicious codes, they were able to come up with an exploit in order to exploit that vulnerability. So in this video, I just want to show you a little bit of demonstration of how a misconfiguration in this case could be exploited. In modern day vulnerability management, misconfigurations also fall under the purview of vulnerability management. Back in the day, we treated only, we called only things that have CVE ID numbers to be vulnerabilities. But these days, any misconfiguration, goes under the purview of vulnerability management. So let's look at what a common misconfiguration is, how we can exploit a very simple misconfiguration. All right. So I'm going to be showing you two. We're going to be using two tools for this demonstration. The first one is called Kali Linux. Kali Linux is an attack machine, right? Many attackers, pen testers, ethical hackers use Kali Linux. It's made up of so many different types of tools within that you can use to perform literally almost all kinds of cyber attacks, right? And the other machine that I want us to look at is Metasploitable. Now, Metasploitable is Metasploitable2, to be precise. Metasploitable2 or Metasploitable in general is a machine that has purposefully been made, been built with vulnerabilities so that people who are new in pen testing, people who are new in vulnerability management can be able to practice on. All right. So this tool was this machine was designed by a scanning company, a very big name scanning company called Rapid7. I just wanted to call them out for the good work that they are doing. So Rapid7 built Metasploitable2, and it is purposefully designed to have vulnerabilities. All right. So the question I want us to ask ourselves is, now, how can we use this Kali Linux machine to be able to attack the Metasploitable? Now, for you to follow through with this discussion, you need to first of all have a Kali Linux machine in your lab and a Metasploitable tool. If you do not have that, I encourage you to watch any video online, and then you build your Kali Linux and Metasploitable machines. Those are, in my case, I use them as virtual machines, and the hypervisor I use is called Oracle VirtualBox. Okay, so here is my Oracle VM VirtualBox manager, and I have two of those machines running. You can see here, this is the Kali Linux, and this is the Metasploitable. Okay, now in order to have a very comfortable, process, I'm going to remote into these two machines. First of all, let me show you what these machines look like. So this is what the Metasploitable looks like, right? And this is what the Kali Linux look like. Now, I want to use a remote tool. I want to remote into both of them. Again, I want this process to be seamless. Okay, I can work in the console of both of those machines, but in other, to make characters bigger that you can easily see, I'm going to be using a remote tool called Audit. And I also have Putty already on this machine. So if there's anything you want to search, any application that is installed on your computer and you want to search, you can just come here and search Putty, right? So this is the desktop client for my Putty. So this is Putty. I can use Putty to remote into any of these machines that I just showed you. Again, but before I do that, I need to know the IP address of this machine that I want to connect to, right? So the command to get that IP address for Linux machines is called ifconfig. Now, this is different from Windows computers, Windows operating system, that is ipconfig. All right, so that is 192.168.1.235. So that is the IP of that specific virtual machine. Let me show you how I saw that. So if you come here, you see here, that is the IP address. All right, so let me go back. Let me bring my Putty back up. So again, this is my Putty. So I'm going to put that IP here, 192.168.1.235. All right, when I strike enter, so it's asking me for the username and password and later password for the Metasploitable machine. Now, because I know that username and password, generally it is msf_admin, and the password is the same, msf_admin. So you can now see I have successfully logged into that machine. All right. Now, I want you to see something. I'm going to attempt to do the same thing for my Kali Linux. All right. Let me do the same thing for my Kali Linux. Let me create a new session. And before I do that, again, I need to go into my Kali Linux to know what the IP address of that Kali Linux is. So when I did that, it is 192.168, this one here, 192.168.1.228. All right, so let me bring up my Putty, and I'm going to be putting that in here, 192.168.1.228, right? When I strike enter, see what happens. See the difference between Metasploitable and Kali. All right, when I strike enter, you see it's refusing to connect. It says network error, connection refused. Now, again, remember from the start, what did I tell you? I told you that a Metasploitable is purposefully designed to have vulnerabilities. How can you have a machine and the machine is configured for somebody to remote into that machine, right? That is how Metasploitable was configured by default. But Kali Linux came more secure, right? You saw I tried to use a remote access tool called Putty, and I tried to gain remote access into my Kali Linux, and then it says connection error, refuses to connect, right? Now, but there is something. I am able to, gain remote access into my Metasploitable using a specific door. Every computer has 65,535 doors. Now we call them ports in IT. We call them ports. All right. Now there is a specific door number or port called port 22. That is the port number that I'm going to use to gain remote access. We call the service that uses that door number, we call it SSH, SSH Secure Shell. Now, so what I'm going to be doing is I will go to my Kali Linux and make sure that port 22, right, the service SSH is actually running on that machine. Let's see. So let's see that that service is currently not running. That port, that door number is currently not open. That is why I am not able to gain remote access into that machine. Okay, so if in order for me now, if you whenever you see this dollar sign, okay, whenever you see this dollar sign, it means that you are a normal user on this computer. And as a normal user, there are certain things that you cannot do. You need to be an administrator. In this case, with Linux operating systems, you need to be a root user to be able to perform certain tasks. Okay, now let me try to see if that port number is open, if the SSH service is running on my Kali Linux right now as we speak. Let me try to do that using being a normal user on this computer, right? And that command is, first of all, let me clear all of this. Let me clear all of this. So I'm going to use a command called service SSH status. Remember I said the name of the service that uses that door number 22 is called SSH. So I'm going to check the status to see if it's running, right? So you can see here, it says disabled. It means that I need to enable it first, all right? So let me try to enable it. So I'm going to say service SSH, sorry, SSH start, okay? Let's give it a few minutes. I think it's going to say, but why do you want to start SSH when you're not a root user? Can you give me the password of the root user of this machine before you're able to open that door? All right. Thankfully, in this case, I have the password. Okay. All right. So I was still not able. Let me escalate my privilege first. Sudo su. So escalating privileges means that you want to leave from being a normal user to an administrator or a root user. So the command we use is called sudo su. Okay. So when I type that, it's still going to ask me for password. All right. So let me put in that password right now. So you can now see that the dollar sign has changed to a pound sign. All right. It means that I am no longer a normal user on this computer. I am an administrator. I am a root user. You can see it's changed to root. All right. Okay. So right now I am able to open that door because I am some kind of the administrator on this system. If you are not an administrator, there are certain things you cannot do, certain security measures you cannot take. There is a specific security measure I want to take right now, which is to open a very important door. All right. And that door is door number 22 or port 22. So let me open that now. So I'm going to say service SSH start or enabled. Anyone is going to open it. If I say enabled, it's going to open it permanently. If I say start, it's going to open it for the time being. When I shut this machine and turn it on again, it's going to go back to its default setting. So when I press enter, it's going to take a while. So that has been affected. Although you didn't see anything, but it is currently open. Okay. The way you know that is you do another command, service SSH status. All right. Now you see that it is active and running. Okay. So now I can go back to my I can go back to my party and try to gain remote access into that specific machine, which is my Kali Linux. All right, so I bring up my party and I do the IP is 192.168.1.228. I remember that. All right, so you can now see it's giving me access. It's already asking me, do you want to log in? All right, yes, I want to log in, and my username is this and my password is that. Okay, I was able to successfully log in. Now, the reason why, again, why I am using Party is because I want this exercise to be seamless. I want you to see the two machines, all right, side by side each other, and I want you to have a better view. So what I'm going to be doing here is I am going to increase the settings so that you are able to see anything that I'm doing on this machine. So I think that 16 is good enough. So I'm going to flush this to the left. And this one, let me make it 16 as well so that everybody is able to see it very well without straining your eyes. All right, so that is also done. So we have two machines in front of us. We have to my left, here is your Kali Linux attack machine, and to the right is the Metasploitable. All right, now let me clear both of them. All right, so with my attack machine, what I want to do is I want to, first of all, um, I want to scan, I want to use my Kali Linux to scan the Metasploitable to see if there are any misconfigurations, if there are any open doors, for example. And a very good scanning tool that I'm going to be using is called Nmap, Network Mapper. All right. And before I do any scan using my Kali Linux, I need to be an administrator. So I'm going to elevate my privilege. Again, normally when you're on a system, you are on a system as a normal user, right? And as a normal user, before you do any serious thing on that machine, before you do any security thing on that machine, any security thing that has implications on that machine, you need to, first of all, you have to do what we call escalate privilege. Escalate privilege means you have to up your privilege from a normal user to a root user or an administrator on that machine. All right. So that is what we are going to do right now. And the simple command for that is sudo su. So I'm going to be putting sudo su. All right. So I will do a sudo su here. Right. It's going to ask me for password. Okay. Now with this, I am able to, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use that Nmap, right? And that IP is 192.168.1.235, right? So it's just a very basic scan of the other machine, the Metasploitable. And the reason for this scan is to see which doors are open, right? I said ports, right? Doors are called ports, which are open, and what service is running on those that are open. So when I strike enter, all right, it took a few seconds. Now I have vulnerabilities or misconfigurations. So I use this machine. I'm able to scan this one to the right, and I'm able to see those misconfigurations, right? So when I look here, I notice that this is open, right? A service called Telnet is running on that machine. And Telnet is a very vulnerable service, all right? And the door number for Telnet is 23. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I am going to try to use my Kali Linux to gain access into my Metasploitable, okay? So using that door number 23 that we just saw, using that service called Telnet, okay? So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to say Telnet into 192.168.1.235. I think I got that right. All right. So once I did that, you see that I am communicated into, it's an attempt at this stage. I am communicated into the Metasploitable. So you can see this Metasploitable machine here. You can see it here on the right side, right? But once I try to telnet into the IP, you see that I'm almost getting, this is Metasploitable. I'm almost getting connected to the Metasploitable. If I know the username and password of the Metasploitable, in this case, which I do, I'll be able to gain remote access using my Kali. So let's go. Let's do it. You through port 23, right? So now I know that I know the username, which is msfadmin, and the password msfadmin. Boom. So I am now inside the Metasploitable. So remember, this was a Kali link. You see up here, Kali, right? You see up here, Kali. All right. Let me fix this thing back. Okay. So you see up here, it shows Kali, but I've used this Kali to gain remote access into the Metasploitable. So that is a vulnerability. That is a misconfiguration. All right. Now, I can do anything I want inside the Metasploitable, right? I can upload a malicious file, I can run a malicious code, or I can even delete the machine. Right. So now I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to exit. So let me exit out of it. Once I exit out of it, I'm going to go back to my Kali Linux. You see now I'm back to my Kali Linux, right? By just that simple command, exit. Now, let's see if we fix that vulnerability, all right? If we fix that vulnerability, what happens? If we fix that misconfiguration, what happens? Again, remember that we have two machines. We have an attack machine called Kali Linux, and we have a purposefully vulnerable, let's just call it a vulnerable asset called Metasploitable2. Okay? Now, the attack machine, the Kali Linux, did a scan of the Metasploitable and discovered something. It discovered that there were so many ports that were open, doors that were open, services running on that machine. Again, remember I said every computer has 65,535 possible entry ports called ports, possible entry points called ports, right? For the sake of this class, I'm calling it, for the sake of this demonstration, I'm calling it doors, right? Now, when Kali scanned, it saw a number of doors that were open. One of such doors that I easily spotted was what? Door number 23. Door number 23, you never want to use door number 23. You never want to use what we call Telnet service. It's very vulnerable. It has lots of exploitable vulnerabilities. All right. So I scanned that. I got Telnet service running on that Metasploitable. Okay. Then I tried to remote into it and it was successful. Now, that is a misconfiguration. You can call it a vulnerability if you like, but there is something we can do. Now, just imagine that you are a vulnerability management analyst. You are a cybersecurity person working on the vulnerability management team in a company, and you discover a specific vulnerability, you discover a misconfiguration. You are going to ask somebody to fix that vulnerability or configuration. Now, when they fix that, you're going to scan again and see if it's going to be vulnerable. So now I want us to fix that problem. Let's fix that misconfiguration and see if we are still going to be able to gain remote access into that machine. All right. So there we go. So this is the Metasploitable again to the right. Let me try to fix that problem. Let me fix the problem from the firewall. Let's tell the firewall on the Metasploitable that, can you please block this door number? That door is open. Can you please lock that number, that specific door? All right. And that door number, remember, is 23. And that service that is running on it is called Telnet. All right. So that, in this case, that firewall is called UFW firewall. Before I do anything serious in terms of security on the Metasploitable, also, I need to also escalate my privilege, which is sudo su. I need to become a root user or an administrator, right? So I'm going to put in my password there. Bam. So you can now see that also changed from the $ to the £, right? So it means I am now an administrator on the Metasploitable, right? Now, because I want to make a change on the Metasploitable, I want to make a change on its firewall. So I'm going to do UFW, so which stands for Universal Firewall, UFW status, all right? So it even tells me that the firewall is not even loaded, right? Firewall is not loaded. Now, firewall is not loaded. It means that I need to try to load that firewall, and then I block that door. I lock that door 23 that is open. All right. So I'm going to do UFW, excuse me, UFW 23, UFW 23, UFW enable 23. All right. So once I did that, you saw there's a firewall started and enabled on systems. So let's check if that door is now, sorry, I did UFW enable 23. It was already enabled. So let's do disabled instead. UFW disable 23. All right. So now that is disabled, it means that that door is locked. Now let's do a simple UFW status now. You see that 23 is disallowed. All right. So firewall not loaded. Firewall not loaded. So let's try UFW deny 23. I think that's the perfect thing to use. All right. And let's try to check the status again. All right. So you can now see here that 23 is being denied. It means that that door has been locked to the extent that if anybody wants to come into this machine through that door, they are going to be denied entry. Now, let's go back to our Kali Linux and see if we are able to gain access into our Metasploitable. If we are able to exploit, the misconfiguration, which has been fixed. All right. So I don't think there's a misconfiguration anymore, whether it's vulnerable as far as 23, door number 23 is concerned. So let's do that. So remember Telnet, okay, it's coming up, and I press enter. So you see the first time when we did that, it kept, it just went directly asking us for, username and password, right? But now it keeps saying trying, and it's going to try till thy kingdom come. It's never going to go through, all right? Because that door is locked. It's just like, standing in front of a big gate that is locked, and then you're pushing it. You don't have strength to even knock it down. You're just pushing it. You keep trying and trying and trying the whole time. It's never going to get open, right? So now what we're going to do is, let me stop that. So what we're going to do now is, let me open it again. Let me allow that port again so you see it, right? So I'm going to say Universal Firewall UFW UNVW allow 23. All right. So I have allowed that now. So let me try to telnet into it again. Boom. So you see the difference, right? So I'm not going to log in. I hope this little demonstration was helpful in order to show you how you can discover a misconfiguration or a vulnerability, and then you fix that vulnerability, right? Then you go again, you try to exploit the vulnerability, you're unable to, right? Again, you get your Kali Linux. Through your Kali Linux, we're able to discover through scanning a specific target. You discover that some door numbers, some ports were open, and you try to exploit that open port. It was able to work. Then now you go into that vulnerable asset, you fix that problem, then you go back to your Kali Linux, try to attack, it did not work. It means that that vulnerability was successfully resolved. So if you want more of these videos, just like this video, subscribe to our channel, share, and comment. Now comment and tell us any video that you want us to make for you regarding cybersecurity, and we are going to drop that. Okay, so enjoy the rest of your time. See you. Bye.